What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, invisible beings are plotting against you? What if these creatures have been watching your every move, studying your weaknesses, and preparing to destroy your life through methods so ancient and terrifying that most people refuse to believe they exist? The truth about how Jinn and Satan send black magic to humans is not just a story from old books. It is a reality that has been documented in authentic Islamic texts for over 1400 years. And what you are about to discover will change how you see the unseen world forever. From which country are you watching this video? If you believe in the power of Islamic knowledge to protect you from the unseen dangers, subscribe to this channel right now, because what we are about to reveal could save your life, your family, and your faith from the most sinister attacks you never knew were happening. The reality of black magic is not a fairy tale or superstition. It is a weapon that has been used against humanity since the time of Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, and it continues to destroy lives today. But here is what most people do not understand. Black magic does not work through mysterious spells or magical potions. It works through a sophisticated network of jinn, devils, and human sorcerers who have formed an alliance against the believers. The process is methodical, calculated, and absolutely terrifying in its precision. To understand how this invisible war is being waged against you, we must first understand who the enemy really is. When Allah created the jinn from smokeless fire, He gave them abilities that humans cannot comprehend. They can travel faster than light, change their forms, and move through dimensions that our eyes cannot see. But not all jinn are evil. Some are righteous Muslims who worship Allah, just as the Holy Quran tells us. However, the rebellious jinn, led by Iblis himself, have declared war against humanity, and their primary weapon is black magic. In Sahih Muslim, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned us that Satan has helpers among both jinn and humans. These helpers work together in a system so organized that it rivals any military operation. The human sorcerers, known as sihr in Arabic, make pacts with the devils. They offer acts of disbelief, sometimes even worship, to the jinn in exchange for their supernatural services. The jinn, hungry for the corruption of human souls, eagerly accept these agreements. But how exactly does this process work? How do these invisible entities actually deliver black magic to their human targets? The answer will shock you with its sophistication and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the unseen world. The first method that Jinn and Satan use to send black magic to humans is through direct spiritual attachment. This is perhaps the most insidious form of magical attack because the victim never realizes what is happening until it is almost too late. When a sorcerer wants to harm someone through black magic, he first gathers personal items from the target. This could be hair, nails, clothing, or even a photograph. These items serve as a spiritual link, what Islamic scholars call a tawiz connection, between the magic and the intended victim. The sorcerer then performs specific rituals, often in graveyards or abandoned places where the barrier between the physical and spiritual worlds is thinnest. During these rituals, he calls upon specific jinn by name, offering them acts of shirk and disbelief in exchange for their assistance. The jinn, drawn by these offerings of corruption, agree to carry out the magical attack. Once the pact is made, the real horror begins. The assigned jinn travel to the victim and begin the process of spiritual attachment. They do not possess the person completely at first. Instead, they attach themselves to specific parts of the body or aspects of life. According to the classical Islamic scholar Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, these jinn can attach to the mind, causing confusion and mental illness. They can attach to relationships, causing unexplained hatred between spouses. They can attach to business ventures, causing sudden financial ruin despite all logical explanations. The victim begins to experience strange symptoms, sudden mood changes that make no sense, chronic illnesses that doctors cannot diagnose or cure. Relationships that were once loving suddenly turn into battlefields of anger and resentment. Business deals that should succeed mysteriously fall apart at the last moment. Sleep becomes a nightmare filled with terrifying dreams, and during waking hours, the person feels constantly watched by invisible eyes. What makes this form of attack so dangerous is that the symptoms appear gradually. The victim and their family often attribute these changes to stress, bad luck, or natural circumstances. They run from doctor to doctor, spend fortunes on treatments, and wonder why nothing works. Meanwhile, the attached jinn continue their work, slowly destroying every aspect of the person's life according to the sorcerer's instructions. But spiritual attachment is only the beginning. The second method that Jinn use to deliver black magic is far more sophisticated and involves the manipulation of the physical world itself. This is where the true power of the Jinn becomes apparent, and where most people's understanding of reality completely breaks down. Jinn have the ability to manipulate matter at the molecular level. They can move objects, alter temperatures, and even change the chemical composition of substances. When a sorcerer wants to send black magic to someone far away, he enlists the help of Jinn to physically transport cursed objects to the target's environment. These objects are then strategically placed where the victim will come into contact with them, often without ever knowing they exist. Ibn Taymiyyah documented cases where Jinn would hide cursed amulets inside walls, under floorboards, or even within the victim's food. The magic works through proximity and contact. As long as the cursed object remains near the victim, the magical effects continue to manifest. This explains why some people experience relief from black magic symptoms when they travel to different locations, only to have the symptoms return when they come home. The most disturbing aspect of this method is the Jinn's ability to use animals and insects as carriers. Authentic Islamic sources describe how devils can enter certain animals and use them to deliver magical substances. A cat might bring a cursed item and leave it under someone's bed. A bird might drop cursed seeds in someone's garden. Even domestic pets can be influenced by Jinn to bring harmful objects into the home without the owners ever suspecting anything unusual. The third method is perhaps the most terrifying, because it involves direct infiltration of the victim's dreams and subconscious mind. While the person sleeps, believing they are safe in their own bed, Jinn enter their dreams and begin planting seeds of destruction that will grow into real-world consequences. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us that dreams have three sources: from Allah as guidance, from our own thoughts and experiences, or from Satan as deception and fear. When Jinn want to destroy someone through black magic, they specialize in the third category. They create elaborate false dreams designed to manipulate the victim's emotions and decisions. These magical dreams are not random nightmares. They are carefully crafted psychological weapons. A Jinn might appear in someone's dream disguised as a deceased relative, giving advice that seems wise but actually leads to disastrous decisions in real life. They might create recurring dreams about specific people, gradually building artificial feelings of love, hate, or fear that have no basis in reality. Over time, these dream manipulations reshape the victim's personality and relationships, causing them to make choices that destroy their lives. In some cases, Jinn use dreams to deliver direct magical commands to the subconscious mind. The victim might dream about performing specific actions or saying certain words. When they wake up, they feel compelled to carry out these actions in real life, not understanding that they are following supernatural programming designed to activate curses and bring about their own destruction. The most sophisticated dream attacks involve what Islamic scholars call spiritual navigation. The Jinn actually guide the victim's soul during sleep to specific locations in the spiritual realm where magical rituals are being performed. The person's soul becomes an unwilling participant in its own cursing. They wake up feeling exhausted and spiritually drained, not knowing that their soul has spent the night being subjected to black magic in dimensions beyond physical reality. But here's what makes the situation even more dangerous. Jinn and Satan do not limit themselves to attacking just the individual. They understand that humans are social creatures whose lives are interconnected with family, friends, and community. So they deliberately target entire networks of relationships, creating what Islamic scholars call collective magical destruction. When Jinn want to destroy someone completely, they often begin by attacking the people closest to the victim. They might send black magic to the person's spouse, causing them to develop sudden hatred or attraction to others. They might target the person's children, causing behavioral problems or academic failures that create family stress. They might attack business partners, causing betrayals and financial losses that seem to come from nowhere. This multi-target approach serves multiple purposes. First, it amplifies the damage to the primary victim by destroying their support systems. Second, it creates confusion because the problems appear to be coming from multiple sources rather than a single magical attack. Third, it prevents the victim from seeking help because the people who would normally support them are dealing with their own magical symptoms. The coordination required for these complex attacks reveals the sophisticated communication networks that exist among Jinn. They share information about human targets, coordinate timing of attacks, and even pass victims between different groups of devils when sorcerers want to intensify the magical pressure. This is why some people report that their black magic symptoms seem to evolve and change over time, as different Jinn specialists take over different aspects of the attack. Perhaps the most chilling revelation about how Jinn deliver black magic is their ability to exploit human emotional and spiritual vulnerabilities. They study their targets for weeks or months before launching attacks, identifying the exact weaknesses that will cause maximum damage. If someone has a fear of abandonment, the Jinn will focus their magic on destroying that person's relationships. If someone's identity is tied to their career success, the Jinn will concentrate on causing professional failures and humiliation. This personalized approach explains why black magic affects different people in completely different ways, even when performed by the same sorcerer using identical methods. The Jinn adapt their tactics to match each victim's psychological profile, ensuring that the magical attacks strike at the deepest levels of human vulnerability. The Jinn also exploit religious weaknesses in their victims. If someone is spiritually strong and regularly recites Quranic protection, the Jinn will focus on creating circumstances that make regular worship difficult. They might cause oversleeping that leads to missing prayers, or create family arguments that occur during traditional dhikr times. They understand that separating people from their spiritual practices makes them more vulnerable to continued magical attacks. Now you might be wondering, how can ordinary people protect themselves against such sophisticated supernatural warfare? The answer lies in understanding that Allah has not left us defenseless against these attacks. The Holy Quran and authentic Sunnah provide complete protection systems that are more powerful than any magic the Jinn can produce. The first and most important protection is maintaining constant spiritual cleanliness and connection with Allah. Regular ablution creates a spiritual barrier that makes it difficult for Jinn to approach. The 5 daily prayers establish protective energy fields around the believer. Reciting specific chapters of the Quran, particularly Ayat al-Kursi and the 3 Quls, creates supernatural shields that deflect magical attacks. But protection goes beyond individual spiritual practices. Islamic teachings emphasize the importance of community support and collective worship. When families and communities regularly gather for Quranic recitation and dhikr, they create powerful spiritual atmospheres that Jinn cannot penetrate. This is why black magic is often more effective against people who have become isolated from their Muslim communities. Physical cleanliness and environmental purification also play crucial roles in protection. Keeping homes clean, burning incense like oud or sandalwood, and regularly reciting Quran in living spaces helps prevent Jinn from establishing footholds in our physical environments. These practices work because they maintain the spiritual clarity that makes magical attacks ineffective. The most important thing to understand about protection from black magic is that it requires both knowledge and action. Simply knowing about these supernatural dangers is not enough. We must actively implement the protective measures that Allah and His Messenger, peace be upon him, have provided for us. This includes regular recitation of protective supplications, maintaining spiritual cleanliness, staying connected to the Muslim community, and seeking help from qualified Islamic spiritual healers when attacks do occur. The battle between good and evil, between believers and the forces of darkness, is real and ongoing, but Allah has promised in the Holy Quran that His light will always overcome darkness, and that those who trust in Him will never be left defenseless against the schemes of Satan and his allies among Jinn and humans. The next time you feel unexplained anxiety, witness sudden changes in your relationships, or experience a series of unfortunate events that seem too coordinated to be coincidence, remember what you have learned today. Remember that there are invisible forces at work in our world, but also remember that Allah has given you the tools to protect yourself and defeat any attack that comes against you. What experiences have you had that might now make more sense in light of this knowledge? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us build a community of believers who support each other in this invisible war. If this video has opened your eyes to truths you never knew existed, subscribe now and hit the notification bell, because understanding the unseen world is the first step in protecting yourself and your family from its dangers.